Hi students, today we move on to another topic about functions, that is the lambda function. Well, a lambda function is kind of a weird thing in Python. Well, and remember, when we talk about the functions, and there are some general guidelines on why we want to create functions and what's the strategy for us to create and use functions, right? Well, and for example, we talk about, the reusable by different color, and that is one of the most important thing when we create a function, that is for the code reusability, right? And then we also want to be a little bit flexible and say we can send different arguments, and then we are gonna expect the functionality of that function to be consistent. But whatever data we take, and then the function can make use of the input parameters and then do consistent things to the input parameters. And we also talk about the function should be decoupled from the global scope. So if we have a good function, we want to make use that in another project, and then we can grab that function and then put it into another project, so we can still make use of that functionality. Okay, so those are some of the top level thinkings on why we want to create functions and what's the strategy of using the function. Well, today the story is different because we are talking about a weird type of the function, that is the lambda function. So for the lambda function, well, it almost breaks all the rules we have talked about. Okay, so in Python, lambda function is type of a anonymous function. That is, we create a lambda function, and most of the cases when we are doing the lambda function, we don't even bother to give a function a name. Consider about that. When we are doing the define and then def, and then we put a function name, right? So every time when we are doing the def for define, and then we are giving that function a name. But for lambda function, we are not, we most of the time we don't even bother to give that a name. What's the problem? The problem is, if a function doesn't have a name, how can we call that? And how can we call that repeatedly? Right? So this is kind of a concern, right? And then let's see, how do we create a lambda function first? So we are going to use the lambda as a keyword. So lambda, and then we specify the arguments, and then colon and the expression. And the expression will be what this lambda function is going to return. Okay? So if we do a lambda function like this, so lambda, and then we take a argument or parameter x, and we are returning the x multiplied by 2. Okay, so we take a value and we are going to return 2 multiplied by that value. So that is a very small function. However, making use of the lambda, and we are able to finish a function definition in one line of the code. And in this case, after we create the lambda function, I'm giving that a name, which is double. Well, and in the real world, it's kind of not so common that we want to give a lambda function a name, but if you want to, you can do that. So for this one, I'm creating a lambda function. I'm calling that double, right? So double is what? Double is a name of the lambda function. So how do we use the lambda function? And then we can do the double parentheses 5. So it's kind of the same thing that we are calling a regular function called double. Is that correct? Okay, so and then let's try to do one exercise. And how about we want to do a lambda function of the x powers y? So we take two parameters, x and y, and for those x and y, and then we are returning x powers y. And by the way, in Python, if you have the x star star y, and that is for the x powers y, right? And if you want to print, and I'm giving that function a name called raised to power, and if you are printing the raised to power, you're going to have a function lambda. So this is the data type of that function. So that is a lambda function. And if you want to call that, remember in this case you have to send two parameters. I'm sending a 2 and a 3. I'm going to return the 2 power 3, which is the 2 cube, that is an 8, right? So for the lambda function, in this case, we created two lambda functions, and we both give them names. So the first one is the double. So double is the function name, and the second one is raised to power. So that is the function name. And as I said, it's kind of rare that we really want to give a name to the lambda function. Okay, and then we are going to move on and see another example. And in this example, we are going to use a map. So map is another very cool function in Python. And for the map, it takes two parameters, and they are a function and a sequence. Okay, two parameters. And the first parameter is what? It is a function. Is that weird? Because function itself is going to be used as a parameter in another map function call, right? Well, probably it's the first time we have seen that, and well, in the world of data science, you are going to see that from time to time. And it is also the same thing for the lambda function. If you go beyond, you go outside of the world of data science, you will see lambda function, but not a lot. But in the world of data science, there are a lot of the cases in the textbooks, in the online blogs, and you are going to see the lambda functions. So lambda function is kind of a big thing in the world of data science. But if you go out, you go to the Python community, and lambda function is not that big. Okay, so let's see. Well, for the map function, what it does is it will apply this function to all the members of the sequence. Okay, so it will apply this function to all the members one by one of this sequence. Okay, and then let's see one example. I'm using just a normal function definition. I'm creating a function called +1. We take a number and then I'm returning that number +1. Okay, super straightforward. And after that, I created a list called nums, and I want to do a map. So for the map, remember the first parameter should be a function. So I'm using the +1 as the first parameter, and then the second parameter is the nums, which is a sequence of numbers, right? So let's review this line. We say it will apply this function to all the members of the sequence. So for each of the member in nums, I'm going to apply the function +1. So what am I going to get? So I'm going to have, well, if you just call the map +1 and then the nums, and then if you want to get the result, which is +1 all, and it will give you that is a map object. So you ain't gonna see the values. However, if you grab that +1 all and then cast that into a list, then you do a print, you will see the result. And for this result, that is all the values from the nums +1. Okay, so we got all the numbers from the nums and then do a +1 using the function we have defined. Okay, so let's do that in a different way. Let's make use of the lambda function. So for this lambda function, we created here. So if you just grab the definition of the lambda function, that is, I'm taking x and then I'm returning x +1, right? So this is a easy lambda function. And what are we plugging this lambda function to? We are plugging this lambda function as the first parameter of the map. Okay, so map, and then we take the first one is a lambda function and then the nums. So we define a lambda function here, and it will only be used in the map function to increase all the values by 1. So we got the same thing done, but we don't have to define a function this way, and we can simply define a function in this way. Why? Because for this lambda function, we know it is anonymous, and it is really anonymous because we don't even give it a name, right? So after this line of code, can we really call this function again? No way. Why? Because we don't even give this lambda function a name. Well, and then if you want to go to the very top, we say, well, the reason that we create functions is for the code reusability. But in this case, no, it's not, because it's only used once in this case. So, well, for the lambda function, I would say it's kind of a quick and dirty way to create a small function. We usually only use that lambda function once to get a very specific work done. So this is one scenario that we can make use of the lambda function. let's see. Well, if we want to have two sequences, well, we create two ranges of the sequence, two ranges. Well, those are the numbers between 1 to 50. And after that, well, if you want to print the A and B, and you will see there are just two lists, right? And then I want to do another map. So for this map, I'm using the max. And you may say, what is the max? Have we got the max defined? The answer is no. But this map is a built-in function in Python. So it will take it will take two or multiple items, and then it will return the maximum among those values. Okay, so in this case, well, we are going to do the lambda function again, well, using this way. So if we create a pair, well, and by the way, this is the first one. The first one is we are just using the map. We are just using the map, and then we are applying the max function to the sequence of A and B. And then for each pair of the value from one from A, one from B, and then we do a max, and that is the value we are going to return. That is, if we have a sequence of A, we have another sequence of B. For each pair, we grab two values, one from A, one from B, and then we do a max. And that max value between the A and B will be the value we are keeping. So we are keeping the maximum of each pair of the value from the A and B. Okay, so this is the first solution. Well, and if we want to use the lambda function, and then we can define a lambda function like this. So for the lambda function, we are taking a pair of values. And for this pair, it will be a tuple. And then this pair of values, we are going to return what? We are going to return the max of those two values, right? And then this is going to be the first parameter of the map function. And what is the second parameter? The second parameter is supposed to be a sequence. So how do we put the A and B together into a sequence? And then remember, we talk about zip. That is, the first value and first value zip together, the second value and second value zip together, the third and third zip together. So we are zipping the A and B, and then we are sending the zipped sequence of the A value B value pairs as the second parameter to the map. Okay, so well, this code is a little bit confusing, and my personal approach to read a line of code when I see the lambda is I'm gonna grab this part out. So okay, I want to highlight this part, and then I want to read and understand the lambda function first, and then after I understand the lambda function, the next step is I'm gonna just remind myself, okay, that is just a function, and then I'm using a function as a parameter in the map function call, and then okay, the first parameter, a lambda function, I figure that out, and then what is the next part, and then you can do a divide and conquer, so you can understand a kind of hard line of code. Okay, so well, let's take a look on this exercise. So we want to do we want to start from a string list, and then for each of the string we want to add 3 exclamations. So we are going to start from this one, and then what you are going to end up with is this one. So for each of the spell, which is a string, I want to add 3 exclamation marks. Okay, so go ahead and try to fill in the code here, and I will go through my solutions in the next video.